the Chiefs and Browns was another great game, and the AFC West is 4-0 right now. The Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders all won. And ironically, we have talked about all those teams thus far on this show. But what was your biggest takeaway from this game? The Chiefs came back and beat the Browns. What was your biggest takeaway?
I had a few. For starters, Anthony Schwartz, if it's his last name, he's really, really, really good. I like his game. I think he's going to be a guy who can definitely change the dynamic of that offense, especially when they get Odell back. They have that Anthony Schwartz guy. David Njoku was really good. That receiving core in general last game played really, really, really well. I mean, from the Chiefs, you're going to expect Tyreek Hill. He gets 200 yards, and we still are just like, it's kind of normal at this point because he can break out and do that almost any given week. Kelsey was Kelsey. Mahomes for Mahomes. The Chiefs started off a little bit slow, and the Browns kind of, came out, punched them in the mouth. The only thing I would say about that game, really, I feel like the Browns played really, really good, except in the second half, and they had all those turnovers. I feel like the game was in their hands. They had the game, and then they just made bonehead mistakes. Baker Mayfield threw an interception, a really bad one. He kind of threw it at the receiver, and the defender jumped it, picked it.
It cost him the game.
Yeah, it's like Cleveland played really well. I can't even say nothing really bad. Like, takeaway, they played great on offense. Defensively, they kind of had the Chiefs scrambling in the beginning. But in the second half, when it was time to close the game, they made the mistakes. And it's expected. This is still a relatively young team with a young quarterback who still has time to grow. But they made mistakes in the second half. And a veteran team is going to pick up on that and capitalize. And the Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl twice. They've been to the AFC Championship 3 years in a row. This team knows how to win and take out games. And they just capitalize on those turnovers.
Before the season started, would you say Browns probably consensus number 2 team in the AFC?
No.
Roster, talent-wise, yeah,
yes.
No doubt.
Oh, you mean just off that?
Consensus.
I had Bills.
Okay, fair.
And they lost to the Steelers.
Yep.
And the Browns humiliated the Steelers.
Yeah. Crazy how that flips.
This game showed me that if you're in the AFC, even if you think that, you're in this game, you're not. You're not. The Chiefs are just so far above and away better than the rest of the AFC. And it's just funny to me because obviously I don't like them. But I'll be honest. Any team that, is a quote-unquote challenger of theirs, they play in the AFC because they've been beaten by the NFC. In the AFC, any quote-unquote challenger, the Ravens, the Bills, now the Browns.
The Jets.
Brady beat them.
Brady did beat them, but he got pretty fortunate with the offside. But you know what? That's
fortunate,
still,
or was that just an undisciplined play?
I'll give that
Brady's
to you
the only
for sure.
guy to beat Mahomes in the playoffs.
And I'm happy about it. Good. So I like Brady a lot for it. That being said, Browns had this game relatively in the bag, up 12 points going into half. You can't ask for much more from the offense. The run game had been effective. Pass game needed to be cleaned up, but obviously Odell isn't there. My concern was the weapons for this team receiver-wise. Obviously, they have the best rush attack outside of the Ravens because that's their scheme. But in terms of duo, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, that is the best rush duo in the league. But they had a chance to put this game away. But when you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're not out of any game. You could be down 2 scores, and in 2 possessions, you could have the lead ultimately because obviously they were down 12. But Patty Mahomes is a freak of nature, and it's unfortunate that I have to deal with him for the next 10 years because it looked like the Chiefs were just going to,
Chris Jones made some big plays.
The defense made some good stops. Obviously, Nick Chubb had a fumble, and that's really unexpected of him. He's usually a pretty disciplined guy when it comes to that, but Chiefs capitalized. And another takeaway from this game is Baker Mayfield down the stretch. Now, they were winning almost the entirety of the game. The one time that his number was called to go and win this game for them, he looked bad. That interception that he had, he looked lost. He looked panicked. He looked like he was rushing, really didn't know what. He just tried to throw the ball away. He threw the ball right to the defender, and the game was over. Now, it was very anticlimactic just because, obviously, the Chiefs had just come back from this double-digit lead. The Browns had a chance to answer back. Obviously, the pressure now is on them because they just blew this lead. Baker has a chance to actually make a statement, win this game for the Browns, and he folds up. And it's pretty telling of basically every other AFC team that the Chiefs play that if you play tight against the Chiefs are going to take advantage. And that's just what I expect from here on out.
The Browns scored 22 points at halftime, 7 points in the second half, and 7 points in the fourth quarter, not even 1 point in the third. Kansas City scored 10 points in the first half and 23 points in the second half. It doesn't matter how the Chiefs win, but they always find a way to win. Texans up 24-0. Chiefs come back on them.
Insane.
They always find ways to win no matter what happens, how big the obstacle is, unless it's a Super Bowl against Tom Brady. But my biggest takeaway from this game, and I'll talk about Baker right now, just real quick. The problem with Baker is that he is very similar to another quarterback that I am highly critical of, in Tua Tagovailoa. The offense, their skill set is RPOs, short and intermediate game. That's where they're comfortable at. But once you force them to win games, to make a play outside of the structure of an offense, they can't do it. They struggle with it. And that's where you separate the elite quarterbacks like Zach Wilson from the other guys like Baker and Tua.
It's crazy.
Guys like Zach, they can make plays like that, But let's just stick to the established guys, because Zach is gonna be there. But let's talk about like Mahomes and Herbert and Watson and Allen and Kyler, even Brady. They can do things like that. Baker hasn't shown it consistently enough, and honestly hasn't shown it much. To be honest,
I agree.
But my biggest takeaway from this game is we know about Tyreek Hill, we know about Kelsey, we know about Mahomes, obviously, but it's that offensive line. That same thing with the Chargers. Chargers rebooted their offensive line. So did the Chiefs. I mean, after they lost to Tampa Bay, everybody said the Chiefs won't be the same. They paid Mahomes so much money. They have to pay all these guys. They can't get good offensive linemen. And the Chiefs said, okay, watch us do it. They signed Joe Thuney. They released Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, who everybody thought was a bad move. But I said, why? Eric Fisher probably won't even play until the middle of the year this season. And Mitchell Schwartz is coming off of back surgery. They signed Joe Thuney to a 5-year, $80 million deal. They trade for Orlando Brown, who honestly was like probably one of the worst guys on the Chiefs yesterday, to be honest, or Sunday, I should say. Mm-hmm. But they have 3 rookie offensive linemen. Creed Humphrey, second-round pick, who I desperately wanted the Jets to draft, but of course they didn't. They drafted Elijah Moore, which I'm fine with, but we needed Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey has been phenomenal for them all throughout camp, preseason, and in his first game. They drafted Trey Smith in the 6th or 5th round. He fell because of some injury. Trey Smith is really the glue to that offensive line, even as a rookie. He is that intense of a player. Another guy I wanted the Jets to draft, but of course, just make me the GM. This offensive line to be a top 5 group in the NFL. They drafted Trey Smith, and then at right tackle, they don't start Mike Remmers. They start Lucas Niang. Lucas Niang, who opted out of last year because of COVID, and he played phenomenal. I mean, against the Browns, who have Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Malik Jackson, they have a good defensive line.
Sure.
They allowed their first sack late in the third quarter. This is with 3 rookies starting at offensive line. So, yeah, the Chiefs spent big, but they're so successful because they know how to draft. You look at corner, L'Jarius Sneed is their top guy. They know how to draft. Willie Gay, I believe their linebacker. I'm not sure if his name is Willie, but I know his last name is Gay. At linebacker, very good linebacker. They also drafted my guy Nick Bolton.
Did they draft Tyrann?
They didn't draft him, no. Then they drafted Nick Bolton to booster up that linebacking core. They just know how to draft, and that's why they're so great, and that's why they're going to be at the top of the AFC and the top dogs until teams can draft better than them. And I'm not sure that's going to happen because the Chiefs, getting a guy like Trey Smith in the 6th round, and he's arguably your best guard or your best interior lineman, is just insane. And that my biggest takeaway is that their offensive line is so young, but it's so damn good. It's so damn good.
But one thing I want to say is the run game didn't look too great. So I understand, obviously, the goal is...
But do you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great running back?
That is the question we're
He's a
going to have
great
to start
pass
asking.
catcher.
I think he's a pass catcher, but I'm not sure about a runner.
But it's hard for me because when he was on LSU, he was what Andy Reid was talking about, a bowling ball type running back that just runs right through a defense, and he will get you a good chunk of yards. But we haven't seen that much in the NFL since he's taken the
Still
helm.
really young.
He is young, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, obviously, because, one, he plays for the Chiefs. He was a first-round running back. Andy Reid is a good talent scouter, and it's just I'm not ready to give credit to this O-line until I see Clyde really take off. If Clyde doesn't take off and the O-line, obviously, the numbers are there and it's inexcusable, then obviously we got to start pointing the finger at Clyde. But off the first game alone, I would like to see more impact on the rushing side of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I think the Browns do have a good rush defense, though.
True.
Yeah,
Definitely.
But that, for the first game, 3 rookies, I mean, not many teams can start 3 rookies
I agree
and have
wholeheartedly.
any success at offensive
sure.
line. I mean, look at the Jets. I mean, we drafted AVT. He was our only rookie on the O-line, and we looked abysmal on the offensive line.
It also helps that Mahomes is
also
a
helps
genius
you
in
guys
the
a lot.
pocket.
I just think that the Chiefs right now have the perfect coaching staff, and they develop players so well that it is one of the places to be.
And I'll just get your thoughts on it. We don't have to talk on it because it's breaking news to a degree. Bieniemy is potentially talking about going to USC. Do you think that impacts the team at all?
It impacts them, but I don't think it's a huge one that they're going to drop off big time. But I think that's a big time opportunity for Bieniemy, and I hope he does take it if he feels comfortable in the opportunity. Because if he revives USC, that's great for his career. And I think being a college coach is much less strenuous than being an NFL coach.
No doubt.
And he's from Cali too, I believe. So I think that would be great for him, and I hope he does get it.
For sure.
Because he's deserved a head coaching job in the NFL for years
no
now.
doubt. No doubt.